Well, look, we're still drilling. Obviously, we got 2 rigs still humming, and yeah, we're up to our 33rd hole right now. We're on holes 32 and 33. But look, I thought it could be a time for me to poke my head up and just talk to the market a little bit, and maybe kind of explain a bit what I think's happening in the market. Obviously, everyone thinks the sky is falling, which is the exact opposite. But look, I don't dig my head in the sand when there's a little bit of controversy. I like to hit it head on and give my perspective of what's going on.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't think the sky is falling, but some people
Well,
obviously.
you don't get text all through the night and stuff. I'm pretty lucky. I don't even need to look at Yahoo or Google Finance because I got people daily telling me what the stock's at. But guys, trust me, I know what price our stock is at. So if you have questions, feel free to contact me. Don't send me a minutely report of where our stock is. But I appreciate it. It's real kind of
Yeah,
AI.
I'm glad I'm not a junior mining CEO, even though some people are trying to get me to be one. I have not reached that level of masochism, but maybe I will. One day. It's a tough job sometimes, especially the volatility in the sector. 50% drawdown in the share price, but
Intraday high.
yeah, I mean, but that's actually pretty par for the course in this sector. It's an extremely volatile sector, and month to month the swings can be enormous. You had a 1,000% run from 2023 to 2024. Now you have a 50% drawdown. It's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So tell us about the drill program. So the last news release, you guys were on holes, I believe it was 29 and 30, if I'm not mistaken. 30 is that step out to the north. You're stepping as north as you've pretty much gone, I think, or maybe the second farthest north. Hole 22 of 5 was a little further north. So how did that hole go? Is that completed? And where's the rigs now?
You can hear me, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, our rigs, so our hole 30, shoot, it's so hard to keep track. We got so many holes going on. So hole 33 is north of hole 30, about 100 meters. And look, we're not going to step north unless we get sniffs of things that happened before. Every hole you step out about 100 meters, some suck, you add about 75 to 100 million tons. So this thing's getting bigger. And right now we did a step out, to the south. So I think when we were last talking, we did a step out east from 18 to continue the fence and fill in that zone, north to south, which are all step outs from 18, 20, 22, 25, 27. And then we actually stepped out south from where hole 29 was. I'm sure not everyone's looking at a plan map. But look, we wanted to see, it was 17 an anomaly, or is there a high grade zone there? So we actually did drill there, 100 meters step out to the east of 17. And we stopped at about 550 meters. We stopped it because, we saw what we wanted to see, that mineralization continues to the east. And it was looking very good. So everything that we saw in 17 in terms of visuals and XRFs, we pretty much saw close to identically, in hole 31. So after that, we decided to then step out 200 meters to the north, which is 100 meters north of 29. And we're going to continue filling it in that, gap north to south. Smaller fence holes, about 500 meters. But I always tell this to people. Our goal, obviously, it's to get to a point of sale as fast as possible, spending as little money as possible, which means we're diluting as little as possible, which means, the less shares you have outstanding. When someone buys you out at a certain valuation, your highest.
Oh, I lost you there, Tony. Okay, I can hear you now.
Where'd you lose me?
Just at the very end, like last 10 seconds.
Yeah, so we got to do holes for the majors, and we got to do holes for the investors. And if a major is going to buy you, even though I think the market thinks, holes 12, that will continue all the way to the east. Well, we got to prove it to the majors that continues. So it's kind of give or take, doing stuff for investors to get the stock up and also doing stuff for the majors that we can de-risk ourselves for an eventual takeout. So that's one of the reasons why we did the main zone. We're continuing to step out north from hole 30, which was across with hole 14. And like I said, every 100 meters you go north, you gain around, thumbstick 100 million tons. For better or for worse, I do listen to the market. We'd like to stick to our plan, but we got a budget. I've got to remind people, we released 5 holes of a plus 20 hole program. So, you don't make or break your program from, the first 5 holes. I think they're actually great holes. But we're going to do some step outs. So we will do at least one massive step out somewhere. We're just waiting for hole 28 to see what it gives us, to give us kind of a better idea of that IP embayment zone, but it's probably an 80% chance that we just go one for the juggler in that IP embayment zone, probably in the next 2 or 3 drill holes with rig 2. And the whole time we were filling in the main zone, 18, 20, 22, 25, 27, what people got to understand, you're de-risking this for the majors, but because
Oh, I lost you again. Are you getting phone calls?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I heard everything up until the last 5 seconds.
Yeah, so we're doing those big incline holes on the north to south, not just to de-risk it for the majors, but also those tail ends of the holes, the final 200 meters, they're tagging into high grade copper. So we're trying to kind of figure out where this kind of jewel box is, quote unquote, to kind of give us the proper science and data that towards the end of the season we can put some holes right in the jugular, right down the middle, where we think this jewel box is. But we're waiting for assays, waiting for information, but it's all part of a plan. And again, we're going to do a big step out. But we like what we see so far. We really do. And it was a gut shot for me when our stock went down. If you're going to ask me if we thought we're going to go up or down, I'd probably say 25% up. We went down, and I've been thinking a lot about this. A lot of fast money's in this. People don't understand geology. They don't want to read past the headline, let alone the first paragraph. But the fact of the matter is, there's 3 things really going for us as a company. What's important? You got to de-risk this thing, because someone that's going to buy you aren't just going to buy you because they want farmland or some deposit. They want to have a deposit that can actually mine. So what's important? Let's step back here. What are mining companies like Teck, South 32, Freeport, Glencore looking for? They're looking for something that is economic. How do you prove economics? Well, the first thing is the capex. So how do you?
I just lost you again. The word capex.
Yeah. So people are looking for cheap capex. And having your, a good location is key. The second thing is, how do you pay back that capex as soon as possible? And, we had that gold zone. I call it a gold zone. There's a lot of copper in there, but, gold's high. The exchange wants you to report equivalencies in the metal that has the highest weight, highest payback. And those were higher grade gold. So it's called the gold zone. I think people took it as a bit of a dog whistle that we're focusing on the gold, not the copper, not the case. But if you look at that gold zone, we think we're way above 50 million tons, and we're trying to get to 100 million tons. And, once you get over that 50 million tons, that's a starter pit right there. That pays back your initial capex, which we think is going to be lower than really any other project in BC because of our location, a lot quicker. And that's why we focus a lot of our news release on that. It wasn't that we weren't focusing on the copper. It's just that gold, that initial capex, that initial starter zone is what any mining company is looking for. It's a key to unlock everything. So if you look at this from a mine plan, you'll probably mine that first. You're looking at about 100 million tons, forward-looking statements. And once, the mill's paid back, hopefully after the 100 million tons, well, then now you got a Highland Valley where you can mine this, moderate grade stuff all the way through giant open pit. Meanwhile, we're trying to find this jewel box. And then, you can sequence to kind of a block cave, or if it's high enough grade and is great, which we think it.
Tony?
Yeah, do you
Let
hear
me,
me?
Let me ask you a few questions, 3 questions. Let's go in order. Let's start with the north. So the north end of the quote unquote main zone, which is the big rectangle
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
left side of the Babine porphyry stock. So you're testing this jewel box area in the north. Hole 30 you completed there, and then you said another hole step further north of that. Was that hole 31 you said?
Yeah,
Or
whole
33? Yeah.
whole 33.
33. Okay.
We
Um
we started
and
to get we started to get sniffs of it at the end of hole 20. Hole 20 kind of dove south a bit.
hole 20?
Hole 20. So we drilled 20 west to east, and kind of halfway through it started to kind of dive south a bit.
Are you talking about hole 27?
Hole 20. So I'm just saying we're starting to get sniffs of it very south. And the further we get north,
Oh, you mean you're getting sniffs of your sort of target zone, the confluence of dikes?
exactly.
Okay. I see. Okay. But there is a rig drilling in the north right now, hole 33. Is that true?
Yeah, it's probably going to stay there for the rest of the program.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so you got sniffs of the cluster of porphyry dikes in hole 20, and then you continued testing to the east of hole 17, you said. Um, was that I forget the whole number. Was that hole 31, 32? I think I lost you.
Yeah, it was hole 31.
Hole 31. Okay. And the plan is, based upon what I heard you say, continue stepping to the north as long as you see what you want to see, but take one of the rigs and drill a big step out in the south in the IP Embayment Zone.
Yeah, so I think I know what's wrong with the connection. Every time my phone goes on screensaver, it turns off. But yeah, so you step out probably three more 500-meter holes, call 1,500 meters, or step outs to the east, 20, 22, 25, 27 are had a step out to the east. And then you use that rig too, and you just, start doing a few step outs. I think that the market wants to see some of this, quote unquote fast money, but, also kind of open up this whole program for us. We believe just from our geophysics and some of the historical drilling, that this thing wraps all the way around. So if you look at our main zone, we're probably getting close to 750 million tons, just from what we see. But we've hit really 25% of our target area where, if we're a major that we would be drilling. So we're going to step out to this IP embayment zone, and maybe further out to the east. But in terms of big step outs, because of access, that's probably all we'll hit this year. And then rig one that kind of focused on going, north to south in the main zone. It's now focused in that main zone, continuing to go north, and then it's going to kind of go for the juggler, search for that jewel box towards the end of the season.
Okay, got it.
We wouldn't be doing that if we, forward-looking statements didn't like what we already saw on XRFs and visuals so far. So a lot of this is based on actual data, just not pie in the sky.
Okay. Let me toss this question at you. So last month I did a number of site visits, some porphyry projects out west, and I spoke with Gio. He's actually VPX for a major mining company, and he told me that when his company, which is a very big company, over several billion market cap, when they have a new porphyry target, they basically just drill a dozen huge step outs. They don't really care if they miss. They just want to test a wide area and then go from there. Get all the information from like a dozen, 300 or 400 meter step outs. And obviously with their market, the fact they're a mining company, if they miss, it's not a big deal. It's just part of their spending to do exploration and try to make new discoveries. and they don't even report it for to the market. But that's their strategy. He's a porphyry expert. He's a porphyry geo, and he's just like you swing for the fences. You go for big step outs, and then you vector in once you have something, right? So it's a little different for a junior like American Eagle, because if you just go and drill a dozen wild step outs and you miss on all of them, you're dead in the water, right? So can you explain or maybe offer your thoughts on the idea of swinging for the fences, drilling big step outs, but also you have to cater to the market. You can't drill dusters, right?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. First of all, yeah, that's coming from porphyry expert at a big mining company. People always ask me, why don't you just drill more step outs all around? Well, there's a bunch of reasons for that. The main reason, quite frankly, is drilling costs money, and we don't have unlimited resources. So if you wanted us to raise $30 million at this point, we cut everyone's dilution, and we double everyone's dilution. So we take care of our current investors. We try and get our valuation up as high as possible by diluting as little as possible. You also have to realize that our deposit's different. It's atypical. Atypical is not a bad thing, but we're different than a lot of the other porphyries out there because we don't have homogeneous grades. So in order for us to, de-risk for the majors, we got to prove that, this moderate grade that we have that, sometimes the market poo-poos, within it, there are these high grade plums. And when you look at this from 30,000 meters, we actually have probably, forward-looking statement, probably higher grade porphyry deposit than any other undeveloped deposit, in BC that's held by a junior. Obviously, Galore Creek and Shafts Creek are higher grade, but they also have the challenges of being on the side of the mountain, being the GT triangle, and probably costing 2 to 3 times as much for equivalent size of ours to build. So that's kind of one of the reasons. Also, you got to realize to do those big step outs, there is an access issue. So we are drilling in a cut block right now. It's easy to access. For us to drill around that clock towards the IP embayment zone, it requires helicopter support. So if I was to drill, let's say, 10 holes in my main zone, I would only, with that same budget, maybe be able to drill 5 or 6. And I think if you can, my main objective here, obviously, drill good holes, get the story out to the market, but protect our balance sheet. That's the most important thing. You look at American Eagle Gold. Who else has enough money to fund themselves for another 15,000 meter program and be fine going to 2026? So I think for us, the plan right now, let's do 1 or 2 step out holes. Let's prove that blue sky. But I think that's enough to kind of keep investors interested at the same time, intriguing potentially other majors to come in by, proving out this big enough zone really that we think is probably around 750 million tons. It's a long answer, but that's kind of what we're kind of thinking right now. The most part is protecting our balance sheet, and we're not big miners, so we don't have unlimited funds.
Right. Yeah, it's a different strategy if you're, Rio Tinto as opposed to American Eagle Gold. You can't do it quite the same way as they might. Does anybody have a question for Tony? We'll take a question.
Rob, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
So I get every day, why is the stock down? Why is the stock down? I got really smart investors asking me the same thing that they actually understand this market. A good kind of terminology I use, it's called gaslight investing. I think a lot of people that are investing right now, it's fast money. They're looking for a quick buck. We have a 2-year plan. Wait till we're end of 2025. Let us get to where we want to go. But a lot of people don't understand geology. And when they see these holes come out, they don't know if they're good or bad. I get emails all the time about it. I'm like, they're fantastic. But the traders, sophisticated people, they know the heuristic behavior of these investors. It's called gaslight investing. They'll put selling pressure on there. And when these investors see this, they think red means it's bad, green means it's good, and they'll start selling or buying that way. And they take their cues from the traders that sell in their hands. So a lot of this is mental. We love our first results. We're going to continue to give good results. And I think 24 is something to look out for.
24 is something to look out for?
24, we drilled 960 meters. We're expanding this gold zone. So, we have 26 that's going northwest. We have 28 that's going southeast. And then we drilled a due north hole that went 960 meters. I'm not saying it's going to expand the gold zone that much, but from our visuals in XRF, it proved the continuity between the north and south zone hugging that porphyry stock. And that's why we're doing these shallower holes close to the porphyry stock, connecting that zone north to south, which is what the majors want to see. And trust me, that's what they told us.
Yeah, that's the whole Charlie Gregg was so stoked about the last time I spoke to him here on X Spaces. He really wanted to talk about that for several minutes. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see the results of that one.
And
Yeah,
Rob, one more thing. Sorry to interrupt you. Just show me one, letter writer or analyst or anything that's saying anything negative about AE that actually found a deposit. Because, those guys are sticking in the exploration game, and they probably made enough money that they don't have to do this analyst stuff anyways. So we got Charlie Gregg, who's so good. He could be an analyst, but he has enough money and experience that he doesn't have to. He's running a program. He sold GT Gold. And take a look at that GT Gold stock chart. It went to 210, back to 60 cents, back to 210, back to 60 cents. If you look at Facebook was at $400 in September 2021, and it created, 75% in a year. So, and now it's back to 500. So even the big blue chip tech stocks do the same thing. A lot of it's trading. Focus on what we're trying to do. And if it's too hot in the kitchen, sell and get something else if you want fast money.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's well said. Yeah, and to be completely frank, hole 17 set a high bar. You ended 2023 on a very high note, and regardless of what the actual results are and what they mean for the long-term viability of NAC, most people are just going to compare the holes you report to hole 17, and it's like, is it better than hole 17? Is it better than hole 17? And as unfortunate as that is, that's the fact that that's junior mining, and a lot of companies face the same problem. They drill a great hole, and then they're compared to that for the rest of their company history, and sometimes it's just hard to top some of those great holes.
Well, look, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to top it at one of our future holes, but results just aren't linear.
Mm-hmm.
And if we continued hole 17 going all the way north, guess what? Our market cap would be triple comma. So, I think people knew it's almost impossible to match it on your first hole, but we will match it eventually, and we'll show that this moderate zone, which by the way is all continuous, has these big plums of high grade. This gold zone is going to expand, and this thing will be economic, down the road. So, and I'm not talking about 2 cycles from now. I'm talking about this cycle.
Okay. All right. I don't see any questions from the audience. If you do have a question, go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll call on you. But I guess we'll wrap it up on, hey, I don't want to pin you down to exact days and weeks and timelines, but maybe you can give us some idea of when we can expect to get more results from American Eagle.
Yeah, good question. Question I get all the time. So, we put out our news release as soon as 23 was done. 23 was attached to another hole, so it was like holding us back. We're still waiting for our multi-elements on a couple holes. We got our golds. We don't have our multi-element, which means pretty much everything but gold, copper, silver, etc. But if I were to be very conservative and be cautious, I'd probably look at, the week of the 23rd for some time we can come out with our next release, but it could be earlier, it could be later, but we just put out our assays, when we get them. And, usually just to kind of bring you under the kimono for all these investors, once you have your assays, you can't put them out the next day. It takes a couple of days to write a news release. It gets QP'd. We got to do videos. We got to do images and stuff like that. But, I would like to get our next news release out before the end of the month. And, if everything goes well, hopefully sooner than that. So, stick by us. We got a good story. We got a great property. There's a reason why we haven't added, a second, third, fourth asset into our portfolio. And, we're going to stay the course, and we're going to prove this thing out. We believe in it.
Final question I just thought of. When do you think you'll start to drill that big step out in the IP Embayment Zone?
We got an ops meeting tomorrow. I'm guessing once hole 28 assays are done. So that will be probably one of the holes we drill, probably in 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. All right, Tony. Thank you very much. It was good to get an update.
No problem, you guys. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I don't shy from questions. I don't need to know this daily stock price, but I'm happy to talk to any potential investor. You invest $100 or $1 million in us. That's work. That's money you worked hard for, and thanks for sticking by us.
All right. Cheers. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Bye.